guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Shelby, and today in this video we're going to be talking about how to apply a perfect, flawless face of foundation without it looking cakey. So if you want to learn more about how to apply your foundation flawlessly, then keep on watching. Okay, so the first step to having flawless skin with your foundation is a clean face. Your face has got to be clean. So I just actually washed my face before I started this video, so it's nice and clean. And the next step is you want to make sure that it's hydrated. So I go ahead and I apply my moisturizers to my face and everything before I do my foundation every single time. The first thing I always use is going to be the Neutrogena Hydro Boost Hyaluronic Acid Serum. This stuff is super, super good, especially for oily skin, because it's not too thick in consistency, and it really, really provides a nice hydrating kind of a thing to the skin. With oily skin, you want to avoid products that are heavy or thick. Well, you need stuff that's very kind of like almost like a serum consistency or a gel-like consistency, not a really cream-like consistency, and that's why I love this hyaluronic acid serum. The next thing I apply to my face is going to be my moisturizer, and I use the Glow Recipe Watermelon, what is it called? Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow, what is it called? Glow Recipe Watermelon Glow Pink Juice Moisturizer. Oh, I love this stuff so much. It's really, really good. Again, it's that more like gel-like consistency, and I just go ahead and rub that into the skin. This is going to make sure that my face is nice and hydrated. There's no weird dry spots or anything, and I'm just ready to apply makeup to it. One thing that's important, just like with your skincare that you do, you want to make sure that you give the products time to work into your skin. So I'm just going to give that a couple seconds to work, and then we're going to proceed to the next step. The next step is going to be primers. I have two primers that I love to use, and I use both on the regular, sometimes together, sometimes separately. So the first one I like to use is I have a lot of redness in my skin. As you can see on my nose and here, my skin gets really, really red. So I like to use a redness reducing primer. I don't use a color corrector, but I use a redness reducing primer. I like the one from Smashbox. It doesn't do anything like super pigmented on your skin, so it's not going to make your skin have a greenish like hue to it or anything, but it's going to kind of very, very subtly diminish any of the redness that you have. The second primer I love to use is going to be the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. Any poreless, pore-filling primer would work, so I love the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. And they just actually came out with a luminizing putty primer and also a matte putty primer, and I haven't tried those out yet, but maybe I will, who knows. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm actually going to use both of these primers today because I'm looking a little red in the nose area. But the first one that I'm going to start with is the Poreless Putty Primer, and what I do with that is I have nails, so I just kind of like scrape up a little dab on my fingernail right there, and then you want to make sure that you get it nice and warm. So I just kind of rub it in between my fingers like this to get any like little clumps. If you see there's kind of like clumps in it, I want to melt those down to get it all like one little paste. And then once I do that, I'm going to kind of press it in to any areas where I have larger pores that I want to make sure are filled. So for me, that's going to be my T-zone area. So I just kind of start by dabbing here and here, here. And then I really just press that into the skin, not super harshly because it's your face, right? You don't want to you want to be gentle with your face, but I press that into the skin. As long as you wash your face really well when you're done with your makeup, do a double cleanse and you should be fine. It's not going to cause you to break out because your pores are clogged. I'm going to use the Smashbox Reduced Redness Primer next, just on my nose and on my chin a little bit because I have some redness today that isn't very cute. And I just put like a little bit on my finger. The same thing. You don't really need to warm this one up too much, but I like to spread it out. So again, we're going to give that a couple minutes to do its job and to make sure that everything is really working well before we proceed to the next step. So this is going to be the way that I do my face makeup. This is the way that makeup artist Scott Barnes does his face makeup on his clients, and he does J.Lo. I love it. I feel like it makes my skin have a lot of definition in the right places, like very contoured, without it looking super fake and like I'm wearing a whole lot of makeup. So I love this technique. I use it every single time I do a full face of makeup. Basically, we're gonna conceal and we're gonna contour underneath our foundation. And I'll show you what I mean by that. We're gonna start off with concealer. My favorite concealer under the sun right now is gonna be the Jeffree Star Magic Star Concealer. My shade is C5. That's the missing shade that got stolen when he was about to launch this. And I absolutely love it. Oh my God, I've been recording this whole time with stuff in my teeth. When am I gonna get better at this whole YouTubing thing? Started off so good. I was so professional. I was so like on top of it with the information. Everything was great. Then I had fucking food in my teeth. Anyway, now that that's gone, don't clock me the house girl. I'm new at this and I just ate. I guess I should have like flossed and stuff before I recorded this, but I don't know, whatever. So when I do concealer, we're gonna use concealer in places where we want to brighten up. So this is about a shade or so lighter than my actual skin tone, and we're gonna place this in areas that we want to brighten. Always underneath the eye, and I'm just gonna do a little bit. Some people are gonna say you need to do a full-on triangle on your face. Girl, you don't need to waste all that product, okay? Like, this is fine what we're doing here. So underneath the eye, we're gonna do the forehead right there, the chin, and then down the bridge of the nose. What I use to blend out my concealers and stuff, there's two different things that I use. So I have my beauty sponge right here. I use the Morphe one. This is just stained. I washed it just a second ago, but it's just stained a little bit. This is the Morphe sponge right here. It's a little bit firmer in texture, but it's really, really nice. And then I also use a brush sometimes as well. Where is that? Oh, it's right here. This is just a little Amazon brush, girl. Like, it's not nothing fancy. And then sometimes I'll use that when I want to get in really in like the corners and stuff. So with the beauty sponge, you want to make sure that you wet this before you use it. And by wet, it doesn't need to be sopping wet where it's like dripping water out when you try to put pressure on your face or whatever. It just needs to be nice and damp. So a good rule of thumb is if you can squeeze your sponge and there's like liquid coming out, then your sponge is too wet. If you can, it's just nice and damp to the touch, then you're good to go. The reason that you want it to be damp is because you don't want the sponge to absorb the product. So I'm actually gonna start using a sponge, but I'm probably gonna finish with the brush when I do this. And I'm just gonna start on my chin here. And when you do this, you'd wanna try and keep everything as concentrated in one spot as possible, because I don't want this huge light spot on my chin there. The purpose is to just like kind of make everything very angular and like focus towards the center, and the farther I move this way, it's gonna kind of ruin that effect. So try and keep everything like centered in one spot a little bit. And the under eye. Oh my God, I have to sneeze. Whew. What I'll do is I'll come and I'll do like this sort of a number and make it into a little shape like that. And I'm gonna come back in with my brush and get that little inner corner part right there. And this is obviously lighter than my skin tone, but we're just brightening right now. We're brightening and concealing. The foundation that we use on our face is going to be darker than this. And you see how I'm just bouncing this sponge? We don't want to move in like a wiping motion. You want to move in a bouncing motion. And as you bounce it, it should kind of stick to the sponge, and you should be able to blend it out that way. Same thing on the nose. I'm gonna try and keep that as centered in as possible. and not let that wash of concealer fall to either side too much. Ooh, do you guys hear that? The sponge. This sponge is kind of firm, so it like gives you some great ASMR action. I'm just gonna take that brush that I had, and I'm just gonna get in the corner here to make sure all of that is blended as well. This is just a little Amazon brush, girl. It's nothing serious or like super fancy, but it does a job. It can get a little streaky, so I normally just use it for right in the very inner corner right there. Next step is contouring. So for contouring, you can use a couple different things. I have this Anastasia. Ooh, she's loved. She's been used. This Anastasia cream contour kit. I also have, and that has some highlight options in it, like a cream highlight and like some like face highlighting options as well, and then it has 3 contour shades at the bottom. You can also use like a concealer that's darker or something like that, and that's what I'm gonna use. That's kind of like the phase that I'm in. Obviously I've used this so much and I love it so much, but I am just in this kind of phase where I'm liking to use a concealer instead. So the concealer that I use for this is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. This is the shade Dark 48. Obviously, it is not my skin tone at all. It's meant to be darker. So the first thing I want to do is I want to do the cheeks and the jaw and the cheek line. So I'm going to start just like right about here. Right about here. And I'm just going to do a little line. Now, if you are using a cream contour, you don't want to go like so much on the face there, and you're gonna see why when I blend it out, because it is gonna blend out and you don't want it to be too much to where it's gonna completely change the color of your entire face. You want it to be able to you want to make sure that it's not so much product that it's gonna smear everywhere, and that you can really kind of keep it blended to one little area. And if it's too much, it's gonna be very hard to do that, and it will start to look cakey. So just a couple little lines right there, and then I want to make my 5 head look a little smaller, so I'm gonna do just a couple little dots on each side of my forehead right there for that. The next thing I'm gonna do is under my chin. The darker your under your chin looks, mama, the less chins you look like you have. So that's a big one. And then the nose. Everybody's nose is different. You're gonna just have to see what your bone structure and everything is like for that. But what I like to do is I like to just do a pretty traditional contour there. I start up here in the brow, and I just do like a couple little dots there. Couple little dot lines there, and then underneath to make it not look quite as long. All right, and then the last thing I do, you guys are gonna think this looks crazy, but this is gonna help me make my lips look a little bit more full, is I'm going to go underneath the lip here, not on the lip, underneath, and on top too. And this is going to create the illusion of a shadow that just makes it look like my lips are sticking out more. They're like more like, so that's a thumbnail right there. So cool. So I do use my beauty sponge to blend out my contour all the time. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we're going to do the area that we did first because this stuff will dry and then it'll be like harder to blend out. So we're going to start here, and you're going to blend this. And don't really worry too, it's gonna look a little silly right now, but if you've noticed, we haven't put on our foundation yet. So when we put on our foundation, we're gonna really fix all this up, and we're gonna make it look a lot more natural. There's a reason we're doing it in this order, because if we did it in the other order, then it would be a lot harder to control all this, and then we would look super, super crazy and cakey when the final thing was done. When we put foundation over all of this stuff, it's going to make it a lot easier to make things look natural and just kind of like a seamless kind of a look. So we're still gonna look crazy when this is even blended out. So see, I didn't take it all the way down, I didn't take it all the way up, and I was able to do that without it looking cakey here because I didn't use too much product. And this side will be a little bit easier to show you. And I'm blending, and I'm kind of like shaping it as I'm blending it. So I am taking it up just a little bit here, but not too far down and not too far in. Really just so that you see how now that's more like, that's the goal. Same thing with the 5 head. Now if you have a really short forehead, then obviously you're not going to do this kind of a thing on your forehead. This is really all about your face shape. So learn about what face shape you have, and if you need to do a forehead contour, then do a forehead contour. If you don't, and you can get by with just a little bit of bronzer, then do that. I like the way that it looks when I do contour my forehead, so I do. And I know it looks crazy, guys, but just trust me. Trust me. Down here, you're gonna blend down when you do your neck contour. You don't wanna blend up because you wanna keep that color going down. You can blend it down a lot easier. You have a lot more real estate to work with here, but if you go up too far up here, you're gonna get into your actual face, and then you're just gonna look a completely different color, so. Oh, I'm gonna do that. Really make sure that you get up in here so there's no like harsh line. Okay, for the nose, it's tricky little part here, and you want to make sure that you're very, very careful, especially with cream products like this, because if you're not careful, you're gonna get all over the place. So I'll typically flip my sponge around to this side and then just very, very carefully, almost just pat everything in the same place just to blend, just to make sure that it's like blended a little bit. I don't want to take the product really too much in any direction. I'll kind of flick it into the eyebrow a little bit right there. But for the most part, I don't want to let this go too far up or too far down. If we do it too far up, then this brightened area right here is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're going to look like Michael Jackson. If you do it too far down, it's going to get in the middle of this brightening area here, and it just doesn't look right. It looks like you have a bigger nose. So I'm really just tapping in kind of the same spot to blend out the product where it is and trying not to make it travel. Okay, and then the last thing with the lips. This is a little bit contradictory. So with the lips, I blend, and I kind of let it even fall into my actual lip area there. So I still don't want the product moving everywhere because I don't want it all the way over here, but I'll blend it onto my lip. Good face. You're looking at me and going, wow, Shelby, you're supposed to be a fucking beauty guru or like beauty influencer or good at makeup. Like you look like a fucking clown. Yeah, I know I do, but we're not done yet. You just wait. This is where the magic starts to happen. So this is where we're going to apply our actual foundation. So I love the L'Oreal 24-Hour Fresh Wear foundation. This is super, super good for any skin type. I have really oily skin and it's super good for my skin. It's not matte, so it isn't going to dry out anybody with dry skin. It's just a really, really, really nice foundation. And it also has Spectrum SPF 25 in it. So I really, really love it. I use the shade 420. I'm a beauty guru. And what I do with that is I just kind of like shake it up a little bit, and I start with one pump onto the back of my hand, and then I just dab my sponge into it like that, and just lightly start spreading this all over the skin here. I don't put too much of the focus where the concealer was, but I do make sure that I go over where that contour was. And I'm just gonna bounce. Remember, we're bouncing, we're not swiping. We're bouncing to make sure everything gets nice and blended. Don't forget underneath the neck here. You don't want that to look harsh either. And do you see, now that I'm applying that, how it doesn't look so like harshly different from the rest of my skin, how it is up here compared to how it is down here. Here it just looks like kind of like a seamless, like more like a transition, like where my face looks kind of like naturally like that almost, like I'm like a Barbie, but up here I look like a freak. So that's why we do the cream underneath the foundation, the cream contour underneath the foundation, to kind of help us achieve that effect. I don't put as much foundation on my forehead, but I definitely want to make sure that I get this stuff to look even up here. So I do put a little bit, but I don't put as much as I do. And that's going to depend on your problem areas. My problem areas tend to be in my cheeks and down, you know, in this area. But I do put a little bit because it needs to look even. And notice how I didn't really ever apply too much down in this brighter area right here. Because that's the concealed area, and we don't want to make that area is supposed to look a little bit lighter than the rest of your face, basically. So. Okay, just want to make sure that we're nice and blended. So do you see this? And we're not done yet, but do you see how that doesn't look crazy? That doesn't look like orange and white, you know? It all kind of looks like skin, but it gives you a more like contoured, flawless looking base to work with for the rest of your face makeup. Do we like that? Do we see it? Good. The next thing we want to do is we're going to set the under eye. So depending on what concealer you're using, you're going to need to go back in with your sponge or a brush and make sure that you didn't crease any here. Jeffree Star Concealer is super good about not creasing. I like to use Fenty powder or the Coty Airspun powder. This one's like $5 at the drugstore, and it comes with a whole lot of product. Your grandma probably used this back in the day. It's like super OG. And obviously Fenty is Rihanna's brand. Super, super good stuff too. This one's obviously more expensive than the other one, but it is more finely milled, I think. So, I mean, they're both really good powders. But I'll just dab a little bit into the lid, like that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tap my sponge into that, get some on the back there, and I'm just gonna press in here. And then I'm gonna get into this little area too. What that's gonna do, that's gonna make sure that I don't get a bunch of breakup, like kind of weird, you know, things separating in my nose area. I also take a little bit and go all over my nose because I have very oily skin and I feel like it helps control oil. And I'll go on my forehead too and on my chin. The next thing I do is this is something I do because I have oily skin. Some people don't like to do this step if they have drier skin because they feel like the foundation is hydrating enough and they're gonna look cakey and, you know, whatever the reasons are. But what I like to do is I like to take a powder brush and then I'll just dab really, really lightly into this, tap off all the excess, so we're just a little bit there, and then I'm just gonna very lightly buff powder onto the rest of my face. That's an optional step, guys, and I just feel like that really sets everything in for me. But like I said, I have really oily skin, so. And makeup tends to break apart on oily skin a little bit faster. Now, this little bit under the eyes here, that's called bake. You can leave that there, and what it'll do is it'll kind of catch, when you're doing your eyeshadow, it'll catch any fallout from the shadows that you might have, or you can just wipe it off if you're not doing a really intense eye look. Sneak preview, in my next video, I'm gonna be showing you guys how I do my signature, like kind of like smoky daytime look. But for now, I am going to wipe this off for the purposes of this video. Make sure you're subscribed though, right here, and ring the bell to get notified of when that video posts, because you don't want to miss that one. So for now, anyway, I'm going to kind of wipe this off. Now we still have to do bronzer and the highlight and blush and everything, but this is just kind of like all the cream products applied. Next thing I like to apply is my bronzer. So for my bronzer, I am a die-hard fan of the Butter Bronzer. It is super good. I love it so much. Physicians Formula makes this. It smells so good. It smells like a day at the beach, and it is just really good stuff. I use a Sonia Kashuk powder brush to do my bronzer. The bristles are nice and tight and dense in there, but it's nice and big and round that I can buff everything out. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of my bronzer onto there, tap off any excess. Always tap off excess, guys. Always tap off excess. And then I'm gonna start by stamping that into my skin right there and then just buffing it out. And I'm not gonna use a powder contour because I just contoured underneath everything and you can already really kind of see that. It's not super harsh, but that's the point. So I'm just gonna bronze. I'm gonna stamp and buff into the area that I've applied my cream contour to kind of bronze it up and kind of accentuate it a little bit, if you can see that. And then I'll do the same thing up here. And then I have dark hair, so I just kind of blend right into my hairline. I know that for people who have blonde hair that can be a little bit problematic and they have issues with that, but it's one of the perks of being a brunette, I guess. I'm also gonna take that underneath the chin. But I don't wanna do too much bronzer underneath the chin because you don't wanna look orange or fake or whatever, so. Now what I do like to do is do a little bit of a nose contour with my bronzer. So I'll take the Butter Bronzer again and I'll use the Jeffree Star, which one is this one? JS3 brush, and I'll just kind of tap in there. Tap off any excess, and I'll just go in right here, brush up, not down, to make sure that things are still looking nice and contoured as far as my nose goes. Cool. We're gonna add a little bit of color to our face now because right now we're just very like white and like bronze. So we're gonna add a little color with some blush. I like to use this Anastasia Beverly Hills blush trio, and it's the Pink Passion one. My favorite one in this is the Rose. It is this shade right here. Wait, this shade right here. It's really nice. So we're gonna take a little bit onto our Morphe M105 brush. It's on there. Tap off excess. And we're gonna go right on the apple of our cheek and kind of blend up a little bit. Where you place your blush is gonna be really dependent on your face shape again. For me, it looks better when I place it on the apples of the cheeks and kind of blend up. And I just put like whatever I have left on my brush. I'll just kind of go over the tip of the nose a little bit. It's all coming together, right? Now you could very easily leave your face makeup like this and you'll just have like a very nice kind of glam everyday thing going on to it. But I like to be sparkly. For my highlight, I'm gonna use my Catrice Light in a Box highlighter palette. I really like this one. It has mixed reviews from people, but I actually really like it. What I like to do with this one, and I find like that shade's really pretty for me, is I like to just kind of get in all of these shades, all 4 of these shades right here. I'll just tap around, tap off excess, and then go. But before I do that, I like to kind of like hydrate my face up a little bit by using a setting spray. And also when I do that, it's gonna make this highlight kind of just like hit just a little bit brighter because the skin's a little bit moist. So I'm gonna use the Morphe setting spray for that. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna bring some hydration back to my face and make myself not look so matte by giving me a quick spritz. What I'll also do is I'll just take my sponge, and if there's any place on the skin where you can visibly see the spray, like where it like was the water droplets or whatever, I'll just press that into the skin. And I'm back to life, baby! Life hack, setting spray after your powder products to kind of bring you back to life. And I'm just gonna go ahead and hit right in here with my highlight. You don't want to bring it too far in here, depending on your face shape, of course, but for people who have my kind of face shape, we don't want to bring it too far in here because it's going to draw more attention into this part of our face, and we want it to kind of give us like a little lift. So I just kind of go like right in this area. What I just did was I took a little bit more of that highlight and I just kind of like went over the nose a little bit to add some brightness to that. And then this is a trick that I learned from Mama Mitchell. I'm going to do a highlighter right in here to kind of do brightness right there. And I also do right on the lip right there. So just like we did our concealing, where we brought brightness to the center of the face, same concept with the highlighter, but just in slightly different positions. All right, at this point, you would have already had your eye makeup done, and you would do your mascara, pop on a lash, do your lips, all of that. But for the purposes of this video, we're done. Like I said, make sure you catch out my next video because we are going to be doing our signature, or my signature smoky daytime look on that. So you want to be sure to check that out. Make sure you're subscribed and ring the bell again so you can get notified of when that video posts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative. I really tried to go in and make this like as informative as I could for a beginner in makeup. So I hope that it was helpful and that you learned something. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Beauty by Shelby, and I'm also on Instagram at Beauty by Shelby. Subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.